extend, our thoughts and sympathies to Dejan Miljovic, his family, the Warriors organization. Igor, he was an assistant for Igor with the national team, and also knows Bogey well, and obviously tragic. So we're, those two guys in our organization, we're close with him. As I said, just want to extend those wishes and thoughts. Okay.
Coach, coming up on the halfway point in a couple of games, just when you kind of reflect a little bit on what your expectations were, how you envisioned the season kind of going, just how much do you think it stacked up reality-wise, or the reality is stacked up against the expectations?
Yeah, I think, on a couple, as you reflect, I think injuries have played a part in the season for us. Having said that, I've talked a lot about our execution, getting better. I think all those things hold true throughout the course of the season. When we spoke earlier in the year, we talked a lot about the identity of our team, and part of that identity is working hard and getting better. And I think our team aspires to be a really unselfish group, a really competitive group, a really connected group, and oftentimes competition, provides impediments to that. And just like your execution, you have to fight through those moments, and I want to see us continue to grow in those areas, in addition to being shifted, guarding the ball, containing the ball, spacing. All those things are important, and I think those things are interwound. I think when you're spaced, it's easier to pass. When you pass, it feels good, and you're unselfish, and it connects you, and yada yada yada.
Coach, kind of going back to your days in Utah, you've gotten to be around Joe from really the start of his career, seeing how he's transformed his game from just being a savvy vet and now coming over to Orlando. What have you seen from Joe's impact really here with Orlando? And then can you really kind of talk about the impact that he makes just kind of as an individual on and off the court?
Yeah, I think Joe's path is a really unique one. And there was a time, and he'll get a kick out of this, I can recall. Basically, I identified with him as a player, and I saw him playing when he was playing with Barcelona when I was in Russia, and he didn't play as much as he wanted to, and I basically told him, "You're not going to play that much in Utah." And he proved me wrong. I was hoping he did, and one of the reasons is that he was really wanting, not just willing, but wanting to help the team any way he could. And early on, it was defensively. He had matchups with J.J. Redick, Luke Williams. That's how we used him. And, so that kind of selflessness. And then I think also he got better every year, and it was really an example of, when you see a player that's further along in their career, it's easy to say, kind of, here I am, this is what I'm doing. And that was not the case. You saw him, his pick and roll game as much as anything, playing off screening actions. He worked to get, but developed a floater. Yeah. And he was very proud of that, and he should be. So his impact on a team, especially a younger team at this point in his career where he's been through so much, and I wouldn't discount the things that he's been through before he got in the NBA, the things he's been through and experienced with the national team. He's just got a breadth of experience, and I'd be remiss if I didn't add his sense of humor, which is actually, don't underestimate the value of a good sense of humor during an 82-game season. Yeah.
Quinn, regarding the tragic news from earlier today, have you had any chance to talk to Bogey or Igor and see how they're doing?
Yeah, I spoke with Igor, Bogey and I, we found out, at the back end of shoot around today, and I reached out to Bogey. Dan was an assistant with Igor on the national team, and they were very, very close. And I know how difficult it is for him right now, and all the what I said previously about how he felt about Dan and his family, the same feeling for Igor and his sense of loss. We want to be there for him in the same way. He's stoic, which doesn't necessarily is not indicative of what he's feeling.
Coach, you talked about getting stagnant in the second half against the Spurs, and then a similar case against Orlando the last time you faced them. What to you makes a third quarter successful for your team?
It's interesting. It's always good before you talk too specifically about a game to watch the film. We weren't as stagnant against San Antonio than it felt. I think they did some things to speed the game up offensively and made some shots, and we got some good shots that we didn't make, which had an impact. Having said that, your observation, I think, is I would agree with. I'm just talking about kind of a matter of degrees. How we started the third quarter in Orlando, we turned it over a couple times. We took a couple shots that I didn't think were great shots. Could have got better shots. And we played pretty good defense first 2 or 3 possessions, but we didn't close possessions. And the turnovers hurt us in transitions. It's kind of a perfect storm. If we're not getting really good shots, particularly as a team's coming back on you, offensive rebounds and transition buckets take it out of you, and that's what happened.
And facing a team like Orlando, where it's been a close matchup every time, one-point game, how important are those, or even this third quarter in a game that's
Yeah, well, the first quarter was important too, because that's where we got a lead, and I think we can fall a little bit too far down the narrative that there's swings in the NBA, and that doesn't mean you accept them. I think how you mitigate them is really important, both when you're ahead and behind. And your previous question, I think that I would kind of reiterate that taking care of the ball, not giving up offensive rebounds, those are the things that let teams get back in the game quickly. And particularly if you've worked to build a lead, kind of a slow, grinded out lead, when that does happen, it can impact you mentally and emotionally as well. So it's good for us to see those patterns and work to get good shots, high percentage shots. Sometimes the 3 is a really good high percentage shot, and if you miss, you got to make sure you get back because you can get run on. So, okay.
Thanks, Coach.